reading and literacy in our community.
The Oklahoma Book Awards will be the topic on Read About It tonight. Hi, I'm B.J. Williams. With me is Glenda Carlile, the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Center for the Book. She'll tell us who won the Oklahoma Book Awards. Susie Beasley will be talking with Pauline Rodriguez. Kids Corner will feature Rosemary Zarsky. We also have Doug Benton, Clyde Martin, and Ursula Ward. Coming up, Glenda Carlile.
The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It, with your host, B.J. Williams.
Glenda Carlile is the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Center for the Book and a frequent visitor here on Read About It. And just this last Saturday, March the 9th, the Center had its annual really big night with the Oklahoma Book Awards, where the best writers of the last year are honored. We actually have a number of finalists in each of our categories, and then one of the finalists is chosen to be the recipient of the Oklahoma Book Award at a banquet we had at the Petroleum Club. And Glenda is here to tell us who actually won all of those wonderful awards.
It was a wonderful evening. It was, I'm still catching up. We had actually had two awards won by the same book, and that was the nonfiction award went to Lydia Wyckoff, and the design illustration went to Carl Brune, both for the book Woven Worlds, the story of basketry from the Philbrook Museum.
And that's quite an unusual
It is
happening.
unusual for the same book. Now, oftentimes they're entered in more than one category, but it's very unusual for the same book to win two things. And I might add on that Lydia Wyckoff was very ill and in the hospital, and so she wasn't there to accept it, and it was accepted by the editor and the publisher, so Shelby Tisdale. And then we had the poetry went to Ivy Dempsey, who was also from Tulsa. Children, Young Adult to Molly Griffiths and, from Levite of Apache in Norman. And she won for the Rachel Resistance, a young adult book. And fiction went to Douglas Kelly from Pocolo, I think is what, Oklahoma. And he won for The Captain's Lady. So it was quite a variety of books and quite an evening.
Now, we actually received over 100 entrants into the selection, didn't we?
We had 110 entrants. Out of that, we had 32 finalists, and out of the 32 finalists, 22 of them were there that night. Mm-hmm. So that was really quite nice to have them all there, and they had a book signing, and they were having a wonderful time. Mm-hmm. I think the finalists were enjoying themselves as much as the people that were there. I thought it was really unusual. Monday, I had several phone calls from finalists that were not the winners, thanking me for such a wonderful evening. And I thought that was nice that the people who are not the winners still took the time to thank you.
Well, the neat thing about it, I think, besides actually seeing people receive their awards, is the opportunity to speak with the writers. I mean, these are people that really come from all over the country. Their books are entered because either they have lived in Oklahoma or they're writing about Oklahoma. So that's the tie-in, but still these are people that you would not ordinarily meet, and it's really neat to, after having read a book, be able to talk to someone about it, because the writers, they're always ready to talk about their books.
And there's always interesting stories with them. I thought one of the most interesting stories this time was Doug Kelly, who won the fiction award, and that's the first book he's ever written. And he started it 2 years ago because he had come to the Oklahoma Writers Conference and had met an agent at that time and told them about the story idea that he had. And that's kind of encouraging to new writers to realize that here's someone with the very first book and it wins the Oklahoma Book Award. And also, he lives right across from Fort Smith, and Arkansas has chosen him for a reading program called If All Arkansas Read the Same Book, They Would Read Captain's Lady, and they're doing that during National Library Week.
And we're sitting over here saying, he's an Okie.
He's really from Okie. The girl called me from the Arkansas Center for the Book Monday, and she said, I told him not to tell you he lived in Oklahoma.
Well, my reaction when he was named as the winner was, I'll bet he's glad he lived 10 miles inside the border.
Right.
But I think that just demonstrates how eclectic the books are that get entered in the book awards, because she said, well, one of them is about the basketry collection at the Philbrook. Another, The Captain's Wife, is actually about a clipper ship sailing around the Cape in the 1850s. And so you can find a little bit of everything. And if you weren't at the banquet this year, you should be at it next year, right?
That's right. That's right. It was at the Petroleum Club, which was a beautiful setting. It was a beautiful evening, and it was just a really special time, I think, for most people.
Now, the Oklahoma Center for the Book is something actually anybody who is interested in reading or writing can join and participate, right?
Right. And it's the Oklahoma Center for the Book is actually an outreach center of the Library of Congress, and we were the 4th center established in a state. And now I think they said John Cole was there from the Library of Congress, and I believe he said there's 42 now. And then we're located in the Department of Libraries, and our purpose is to promote Oklahoma writers and Oklahoma writing.
Mm-hmm. And the really big thing that the center does every year is the Oklahoma Book Awards and the banquet, but they are starting to look into other areas of promotion.
We're working on a big author database. One thing I forgot to mention at the banquet is that we have the Lifetime Achievement Award. And this year it went to World Literature Today, and it's the first time we've ever done an organization. But that was really exciting. They were World Literature Today is celebrating its 75th anniversary. It's located at the University of Oklahoma, and it's better known in other places throughout the world than what it is in Oklahoma, and it was kind of nice for them to be recognized by their home state.
It's an old cliche, but I guess cliches are useful because they're true. It's Oklahoma's best kept secret is that down there in Norman we have some of the best writers from the entire world actually come to Oklahoma because of World Literature Today and the Poudrebaugh and the Neustadt affairs that they have down there. And so that has really put Oklahoma on the literary world map.
Very definitely.
And most of us don't know a thing about it.
Very definitely. And we also recognized John Berryman for the Ellison Award, which goes to a deceased Oklahoma writer. And John Berryman had won the Pulitzer Prize and the National Book Award, and again, that's someone that very few people ever even knew that he was from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. So it's a really interesting evening, and just following what's going on, I think, gives any of us a broader perspective of the literary history and happenings today here in Oklahoma. And you too can participate. I mean, people can not only become members of the Oklahoma Center for the Book, but they can certainly attend the banquet next year because it is open. It's not a members-only kind of affair.
That's true. Very true.
And so they just need to pay attention to read about it, because we'll keep you posted about July is when the center first starts asking for books to be entered for the next year's Oklahoma Book Awards.
Mm-hmm. It's almost a year-round project.
Yes, I can attest that Glenda Carlile works very, very hard to keep it going. She does indeed work year-round on this. But I want to thank you very much, Glenda, for being with us.
Thank you, BJ.
We've had with us Glenda Carlile, Executive Director of the Oklahoma Center for the Book. She's been filling us in on the Oklahoma Book Awards. Their banquet was held on March 9th. Coming up next, we have Susie Beasley and Pauline Rodriguez. They've got a book I think you'll find fascinating.
A Trip to the Beach by Melinda and Robert Blanchard. Planning a trip to the beach in the wintertime?
Well, you know, I thought this would be a good warm book to read in the winter, although this winter has been so warm that I haven't really felt the need to get away. I don't think I'd want a trip like these people, because they tossed everything, sold everything, and moved to the Caribbean to open a 4-star restaurant.
So where is this restaurant anyway in the Caribbean?
It's on an island called Anguilla, which I'd never heard of until I read this book, which is not surprising because it's one of those places where people with serious money go on vacation. And it's obvious that the Blanchards had a fair amount of money before they started because they picked Anguilla, having vacationed there several times themselves. This book describes their trials and tribulations trying to get the restaurant up and running.
And what kind of trials and tribulations that they have going on?
Well, it's kind of like the classic spoiled American story.
See?
You know, if you're opening a restaurant in this country, you go to the restaurant supply store, you order your equipment, and you have it delivered in a few days.
Right.
And then you go to the food wholesaler and you make arrangements for your food deliveries.
Yes.
Well, there's no restaurant supply store on Anguilla. The grocery stores only stock basic items, so they've had to go to Miami to buy all their equipment and arrange to have it shipped over, and then learn about all the lovely local red tape to get it off the plane and get it out of hock.
Because of the perishable foods and all this.
They had to arrange to get the food brought in, and they discovered very quickly that shipping by boat didn't work.
And also they had a lot of problems with the weather and all that.
Oh yes, and
So was it worthwhile? Was it while to do this?
they seem to think it was. They actually have become residents of this island. They have become very close to the people that work for them, and they have been able to do a lot of non-tourist things. And I looked them up on the internet, and I found a menu for the 2002 season, so apparently the restaurant's still in business.
So this is not a place that you're planning on flying to anytime soon or going there by boat.
I don't think I'll be taking a trip to check it out, no.
But the bottom line on this book, A Trip to the Beach by Melinda and Robert, does it give you a sense of something different and unique?
It does, and it gives you a very clear sense of being there. They are very appreciative of the local culture, so a lot of the descriptions of the local culture are very vivid. And there's also a story after their first season, their restaurant was destroyed by a hurricane. And so after running a year, they had to rebuild.
So it's still a good adventure story. Well, Polly, we certainly appreciate you coming and sharing with us A Trip to the Beach by Melinda and Robert Blanchard. This book is fairly new, and it's available at your local library and perhaps your local bookstore. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Pauline.
Thanks, Susie and Pauline. After a short break, I'll be back to tell you about some new books.
We are more than 300 strong. We are diverse from all walks of life. We are musicians. We are teachers. We are computer experts and business leaders, each with the same goal, to meet the information needs of the people of Oklahoma County. We are the librarians of the Metropolitan Library System. How can we help you?
The first book I'd like to share with you is called the new Bill James Historical Baseball Abstract, the classic completely revised. This is a 2001 update of a staple of sports writing. The original was published in 1985 to much acclaim. Now, if you know Bill James, you know that this is a quirky, opinionated, and sometimes hilarious book. But if you're a baseball fan, this is a book that you need. Bill James is a sports writer, and he has been called a rare combination of amateur logician and sociologist, stylist, humorist, and stern moralist. The first section of this book is a history of the game, decade by decade, from the 1880s to the present. It includes such categories as heaviest player and most admirable superstar. A rating of the 100 best players in history, position by position, is the second section, and the third is an evaluation of the players according to a formula called a win share. James introduces this new statistic as a way of quantifying individual performance and equalizing the offensive and defensive contributions of catchers, pitchers, infielders, and outfielders. There are very few pictures in this book, but the ones that are there can be priceless, such as a snapshot of Ty Cobb in a World War I captain's uniform. If you have experienced Bill James, you know that this book is a delight. If you have not, you should rush right out and acquire the new Bill James Historical Baseball Abstract. You will enjoy it, and you will delight your friends with your sudden new knowledge about baseball. This next book is a history of the Bible, and the plain cover is very misleading because this is a copiously illustrated book. It takes a look at the Bible as an artifact. It is a narrative of its actual creation and continuation throughout the years. The Bible is the most translated and the most used book in the world. It has come a long way from the Latin of St. Jerome and the illuminated copies of books that were only allowed to be used by priests and by other people in the church. This takes a very good look at the translations that have occurred, the history of the first translations out of Latin into the common languages of the people often entailed the risk of being burnt at the stake if you were caught having one, to the point now where missionaries study languages in order to be able to translate the Bible into the language of whatever people that they are working with. If you're interested in biblical history, this is a book for you, A History of the Bible. Coming up next, we have Kids Corner, and that will feature Kelly Rhea and Rosemary Zarsky, and they have a book just for our young adults.
Hi, we have a very interesting book. It's called Don't You Know There's a War On? It's by Avi. Rosemary knows all about it. Would you tell us something about it?
Well, I love the title because the title tells you what the standard answer was when anybody said why during the war.
And this was a what time period?
This particular book takes place in 1943, but they always said, if you said, why do I have to? Don't you know there's a war on?
Okay, that was kind of a catchphrase then.
Right, it explained everything and anything, and the kids had to figure out all their answers with only the answer coming back, don't you know there's a war on? And so, in a sense, it basically...
That was supposed to satisfy them.
That's right.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the main character in this book.
Well, Howie is 11 years old. He's in school. He has a best friend named Denny. Howie's father is in the Merchant Marines, so every day he's putting his life at risk because this is when the convoys are going down pretty much a lot, because the war has not yet turned in the Allies' favor. His best friend Denny's got a father who's fighting in Africa, and everybody has some member of their family somehow involved in the war. And yet you're supposed to go to school and pretend like everything is normal.
Well, at that time, everyone chipped in as best that they could.
Right.
Every little effort was worth something, and so everyone pulled together.
And the teachers emphasized this by every week they would have the children say where their family member was, and they'd move little American flags around.
Oh, so they could track their position.
Right, so they could get some sense of unity, and we're all in this together.
Right, and geography was a lot more pertinent
I bet
to them.
they knew a lot more places than we do today.
They certainly did.
Yeah.
I think that this is a really interesting book. Now, you say it's set in 1943?
It's set in 1943, but it's written as if someone is looking back at it 5 years later. The main character, Howie, he's writing as if he's 16 years old, looking back to when he was 11.
Oh, okay.
And so it's kind of interesting. The Brooklyn accent brings out, you're sitting here saying, excuse me. Sometimes you have to reread a sentence or two to understand exactly what they said. And
so you get a little flavor of even a different region. Oh, I find that really fascinating.
oh, it's a fascinating book, and it's good for girls, boys, and adults.
Excellent. Well, it's called Don't You Know There's a War On? It's by Avi, A-V-I, and we hope that you'll look for it in your favorite library or your local bookstore.
Thanks, Kelly and Rosemary. It's time for the New York Times bestseller list. We'll start out, as usual, with fiction hardback. Number 10 is The Millionaires by Brad Meltzer, The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen, Catch as Cat Can by Rita Mae Brown, Hunting Season by Nevada Barr, Journey Through Heart Songs, written and illustrated by Bandy Stepanek, Southampton Row by Ann Perry, The Diary of Ellen Rimbauer, edited by Joyce Reardon, Upcountry by Nelson DeMille. Number 2 is The Cottage by Danielle Steele. And number 1 is John Grisham's The Summons. On the nonfiction list, John Adams by David McCullough is number 10. What Went Wrong by Bernard Lewis. Nigger by Randall Kennedy. One Nation by the editors of Life magazine. Sacred Contracts by Carolyn Miss. The Bureau and the Mole by David Weiss. Driver Number 8 by Dale Earnhardt Jr. with Jade Gurse. Shadow Warriors by Tom Clancy with Carl Steiner and Tony Colts. Stupid White Men by Michael Moore is number 2, and Bias by Bernard Goldberg is number 1. On the children's list, number 10 is Ricky Ricotta's Mighty Robot versus the Mecha Monkeys from Mars by Dav Pilkey. The Big Egg Hunt by Suzanne Wynn. Return to Neverland, Random House Pictureback. Captain Underpants and the Wrath of the Wicked Wedgie Woman by Dav Pilkey. Bob's Egg Hunt by Annie Auerbach. The Berenstain Bears and the Real Easter Eggs, written and illustrated by Stan and Jan Berenstain. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Number 2 is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, also by Rowling. And number 1 is The Adventures of Super Diaper Baby by Beard and Hutchins. Coming up next, we have Doug Benton of the Metropolitan Library System and the Oklahoma Gazette. He'll be talking with Clyde Martin, that renowned radio opera host and actor, about a book I'm sure you'll enjoy.
Thank you, BJ. Well, Doug, you have a book called The A-List 100 Essential Films.
That's it. This was it's a collection of 100 short essays written by members of the National Society of Film Critics. Which is mostly New York and Los Angeles.
Oh, yes.
Members.
You're not included.
No, I am not included. Yeah, that's a surprise. But what they've done is they've made a list of the 100 movies they think you must see to be film literate. It's not every great film. I mean, one of the pleasures of a book like this, I think, is skimming the titles, in alphabetical order and saying, but they left out my favorite. How could they have left out Magnificent Ambersons or whatever it is that you think should be in there, and then arguing about some of the things that are included in here. It's edited by Jay Carr, who is the film critic of the Boston Globe. He's been there for about 20 years. But he has the same number of selections from himself as he has from everybody else. Usually the reviewers have 3 or 4 apiece. So not only do you get a sense of what movies you maybe would want to look for at the rental store, but also what the ideas of good and bad are from different critics from around the country.
Well, what are some of those we should look for that are recommended
Well,
in
some of the ones that come to mind immediately, Citizen Kane. Let's talk about musicals, because I know that you would be interested in musicals. And in a way, it shows one of the nice and bad points at the same time of their selection process. The musicals they listen here are 42nd Street.
Good.
Okay, that you approve of that. Singing in the Rain. Top Hat.
Yeah,
for the dancing.
For the dancing.
Jailhouse Rock.
No.
No. But you see, I think what they've done is they've gotten one of the gritty, realistic Warner Brothers musicals from the early 30s. Wizard of Oz is in there, too. Okay. They've gotten one sample of the Astaire Rogers more sophisticated musical from RKO. They've got their MGM musical in Singing in the Rain. They've got a youth-oriented musical in the Elvis Jailhouse Rock. So they've tried to cover the waterfront,
they seem
as
to
it were.
spread it around.
Right. One of each kind. But the problem with that is, you hit something like Jailhouse Rock and you go, wait a minute. In a sense, an Elvis movie, an early Elvis film might be influential, but is it really a great movie? No. It's hard to accept it that way.
Yeah.
And so, I felt the same way when I got to Star Wars. Certainly, it's one of the most influential films of the last 30 years, but is it really a great movie? Well, no, maybe not. They begin, and of course, the movies are listed in alphabetical order, but it does start in 1915 as the earliest one, Birth of a Nation, and The Vampires, a French silent serial, and it goes through 1997 with L.A. Confidential.
Well, thank you, Doug. That's something that I think would be a good browsing sort of thing. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Doug and Clyde. With me now is Ursula Ward. She's from the cataloging department of the Metropolitan Library System, and she has brought an absolutely fascinating book with her. And Ursula, what is the title of the book?
The title is The History of the United States Capitol, and it is a chronicle of the design and the architect of the building, the Capitol building in Washington, D.C.
Okay, that was something that I was a little bit confused about earlier. It's not about the capital city, it's about just the Capitol building, which even as late as 1860 didn't look anything like it does today, does it?
No, it was first commissioned by George Washington in 1793. They really didn't build to finish the dome until 1863. So that's for many years. It kind of reminds me of what our state history is doing.
So if there were pictures of the Capitol taken during the Civil War, they would quite likely have scaffolding up over the dome, right?
Yeah, well, yes, the whole building like a little construction, the ironwork like all building at the state capitol now.
Now this has got the original plans, and I'm sure that things have been revised over the years.
In fact, they still, after World War II, they built on the two extensions on each side. So it still has a evolution of the building. It's still going on. In fact, in 1993, they had the bicentennial celebration, and before that, they renovated all the building, and they put the statue down from the top, and they cleaned it. And so it's still an ongoing process of maintaining. And who knows, in the next century it might be completely different.
Well, I was thinking about the problems of creating a building long before there was anything like electricity or even gas illumination. And then because of the needs and requirements, somebody had to go back in and with great care run electrical wiring and put in heat and air conditioning. And I thought, well, thank goodness nowadays you can get computers that really don't need wiring, because I could just imagine trying to wire that for everybody in their two computers. It seems like we're having.
I imagine they had the same problem in some of the libraries. They have cords all over the place.
Right. Well, it sounds like a really interesting book, Ursula, and I want to thank you very much for being with us. We've had with us today Ursula Ward. She's been telling us about the history of the United States Capitol. It's by W.C. Allen, and you can find it at your library. You can find all kinds of things at your library. If you want to go online at www.metrolibrary.org, you have access not only to all of our libraries, their locations, their times of operation, and all of the programs that they have, which extend from toddlers all the way up to adults, but you can access our catalog, take a look at what we have in the way of books, audio and videotapes and CDs. You can make reservations for these books, put them on the reserve, I think is the technical term, and they will be waiting for you at your designated library. So be sure and check us out in person or online. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you again next time.
Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.